Hi everyone, this is Kevin from Supernatural Selection. Are you an independent creator? Do you have a webcomic or an Etsy store? Do you 3D print things? Or are you just looking to get some word out for your Discordian cabal with social terrorism? Well, we'd love to help. And David, I believe you've got some details about how we can help.
Why, certainly. If you go to supernaturalselectionpod.com/contact, that is supernaturalselectionpod.com/contact, you can learn how to advertise with us.
That's right. I believe the rate is $2 per episode. You can't beat that with a stick.
I mean, trust me, we've tried.
Yeah, that's cheap. That's literally cheaper than dirt.
Mm-hmm. And best of all, if you're not sure how to write an ad, we'll do it for you. We'll even record it.
Absolutely. Just let us know what you need in the ad, and we'll be happy to do that for you.
And again, that URL is supernaturalselectionpod.com/contact.
And now, back to the show. That's good. And who are you?
I am Elfstar.
Okay, good.
Third
You're
level Elven Cleric.
Good, and I'm a big booty bitch. How about you, Mike?
I don't know. I got nothing. I'm ill prepared for this line of questioning.
Mike,
You
you're
didn't even bring a character sheet?
I don't look. All my dice are in storage. Okay.
See, mine are too, but I can go in the other room and get them. Anyway, help.
I have my dice on the desk next to me.
Actually, my dice are like everywhere.
Yeah, they're all over.
I have so many dice,
any
but I don't.
D4 is a caltrop.
Mike is like a Chessex booth at a con exploded.
No, that's you.
Yeah, well, no, because mine are all in one place.
Well, mine are mostly in one place.
Okay. Well, welcome to Supernatural Selection. I'm your host, Kevin. With me this week are Mike the Skeptic. Mike, how are you this week?
I'm full because I just ate.
Okay.
I didn't even finish all my food, and I got full.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah. I ate like one chicken strip, some fries, and some mac and cheese, and I'm stuffed.
Well, I pan-seared some tilapia and had some roasted peppers and onions, and this is not the show. And we've got Mr. David Davis. David, how are you this week?
All right, gentlemen, roll for initiative.
Bad news. I already have initiative. We're going Call of Cthulhu style, and unfortunately, I've got the highest dex right now.
Also have bad news. I don't have any ecstasy, so I can't roll.
Oh, damn, son. Rolling on that X. So, first off, welcome back. We took a couple weeks off because, good God, this episode was way harder than I thought it was going to be. This is, there was a lot. I don't know how else to say it. There was a lot going into this one. As far as housekeeping goes, we are barreling toward getting the zine ready, David was telling me.
Mm-hmm.
And the campaign to fund that will be in September, and we will pelt you with social media stuff everywhere. I'll even jump back on Twitter.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I know. I don't do that lightly. So, and again, always looking for sponsors. If you would like to advertise on the show, hit us up at team@supernaturalselectionpod.com, and our rates are $2 a show, and we have pre-roll, mid-roll, and post-roll spots. So, guys, we're doing, this is the beginning of our Satanic Panic series. Yes. Now, we've been talking about this and teasing about it for a long time now, and I felt like the right place to start for me would be the D&D panic that Mike and I lived through back in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
For myself and a lot of people, this was a serious scare. Our lives were changed, and in some cases ruined. Now, Mike, How did this affect your childhood?
Not a whole lot. My parents weren't like I knew some kids like couldn't like do anything with D&D, but it never really affected me personally.
So you had the cool parents.
I mean,
as far as that goes,
as in they just never said anything about it. And you know,
Right.
when I did show up with a D&D book from a friend at school, they didn't care really.
Yeah. Well, I know when I met you, you had the Paranoia handbook. So yeah, RPGs. Woo! David, did you experience any of this, or is this a little before your time?
So when I was starting to play, D&D was probably at its lowest point since the 80s as far as like finding groups and stuff like that.
Yeah, was this like
I think it was
Wizards buyout?
Was 3.5 Wizards?
I think so.
Yeah, because I think 3.5 was late
that was
90s?
Wizards. This is early 2000s.
Early 2000s. Okay, yeah. So, that being said, like my mom used to play Dungeons and Dragons. I could never find a group. But also, like my grandmother was super religious, so like if she was so religious that on the premiere of Futurama in 1999, the minute Bender said "bite my shiny metal ass," she turned off the TV.
Oh
like,
wow!
You're not allowed to watch this. I'm like, oh, okay.
Jesus.
So, yeah. So
So wouldn't be a fan of the show.
No, definitely not. No, I just didn't get a real chance to play it until like high school, and like my early to mid 20s. But it wasn't for a lack of, or it wasn't because like people were like it's satanic. I think that had mostly expired. That kind of line of thinking, but you'd be surprised.
Well, you are in California, and you are a bunch of godless heathens, so that does make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, no, I got you.
Yeah.
Now, so let's go over our sources real quick. First off, we've got The Dungeon Master, The Disappearance of James Dallas Egbert III by William C. Deere. It's a fantastic read. Also, I can't help but feel the author is full of shit and spinning a yarn, and we'll get into that
like
more.
A DM.
Yes, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the film Mazes and Monsters, based on the book Mazes and Monsters by Rona Jaffe. The film that ruined my childhood and a lot of other people's childhood. And assorted wiki articles about the things that we mentioned, news articles, YouTube vids, and a lot of this was basically to refresh my memory on living through it. So, if you hear about anything on here, you can definitely look it up yourself and find the same articles I did. It is not that hard to find. So, if you guys are ready, we can jump right in.
Okay.
You ready?
Sure.
All right, get your dice out. So, the first thing to know is that the U.S. is known for its moral panics. Times in history where the entire society got up in arms over something they found morally objectionable. It started all the way back in Salem when they started burning neighbors they didn't like for being witches. And we'll cover that in depth in the future, of course.
And you know, all of that, like the Salem stuff, is predated by what had occurred in Europe. Americans were close to like a century or so behind Europe regarding the subject of witch trials, and they had already kind of started falling out of favor when they were kicking off over here.
Yeah, it's kind of like Tight Roll Jeems coming to Mississippi like 5 years after it was everywhere else. So yeah, so in the 1950s we had McCarthyism and the Red Scare, people outing each other as communist sympathizers and ruining lives and careers.
And today we have people who believe public schools are teaching kids to shit in litter boxes. Our insane conspiracies are getting dumber and dumber.
Wait, what?
Yes,
You haven't heard
there's
that
a
before?
whole string. Yeah, there's a whole movement of people. You'll see it on like TikTok and stuff, but they think that like furry kids in high schools and elementary schools have to like they like schools are accommodating them by giving them litter boxes to shit in. It's
No, they're not.
No, like there was a grown ass adult standing. I think it was at like a school board meeting, and was talking about furry kids have being accommodated with litter boxes, and I'm like, no.
What the? Look, the only time I've ever even thought about shitting in a litter box was to just show the cat's dominance. Anyway.
But yeah, no, I mean, you could say we are kind of in the midst of another, moral panic about, a lot of things. Not just one thing this time.
We've been a consistent moral panic since 9/11.
Yeah. Well, even before then, those, also, the war on drugs. And
going back to Columbine, too, shit.
Yeah. And we'll get into a few of those, but not many as the story goes.
Yeah.
But our story sort of starts in the modern era with 4 films. Rosemary's Baby in 1968, The Exorcist in 1973, The Omen in 1976, which I may be The Omen, and the Amityville Horror in 1979.
Which, can I say, that makes for like an excellent movie night. If you just want to like have a wonderful night, watch those 4 movies.
Yeah, if you want to watch those 4 movies and just have a "this is what ruins society" night, this is where to go. You see, these films came out right at the beginning of the formation of the modern right, and the timing couldn't be better to start a panic. These films all dealt with Satan or possession by evil spirits and signaled a shift in the way that society viewed the devil and evil itself. Evil was no longer a thing simply at the heart of men, as the Shadow knows. It was a living external force that was coming for you, or, more accurately, your children. Because what else did all these films involve? The corruption of children by satanic forces.
Yeah, and you mentioned the external living force element of it, and I really want to emphasize that this was a period where people began to like more publicly and openly believe in a literal hell. This is going back to like he's always had pockets of Christianity that like had that like belief, but through like the 50s, right, up through the 70s, it became more of a thing like, oh no, hell is very literally real to these people. And just it becomes increasingly pronounced in the U.S. So like the adversary, the capital A adversary, normally treated as a metaphor, was increasingly considered to be more and more real to people.
Yes.
And that we talked a little bit about the devil when we talked about
Robert Johnson.
Robert Johnson, yeah, and that's also kind of where this series is going as well, I think. So, like, I'll probably be doing a deep dive on these parts myself in this series because there's a lot of talk to talk about here, especially like with the evangelism of the 30s, 40s, and 50s. These people kind of born into that, growing up, and into the 70s, and then also like how the counterculture all connects to this as well.
Right. There's a lot to go over with that, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Mike, your family was Catholic, correct?
They were lapsed Catholics, so I'm atheist.
Okay. So, did you pick up on any of these things? Like, because a lot of this started with, like, Catholics, the priest, exorcisms,
Not really, because like I said, they were, we went to church a couple times throughout my childhood, but it was not a day-to-day thing with us.
Okay.
Were they every sperm is sacred Catholics?
Oh, no.
Or?
Oh,
okay.
no.
Okay.
I knew his parents. They were certainly not. Yeah, sorry, Mike. I didn't mean to insult you there. Your parents were cool like that. So, into this situation suddenly enters Dallas Egbert III. So, James Dallas Egbert III was born October 29th, 1962 in Dayton, Ohio, and from an early age it was clear he was a genius. As a child, he set up his father's business computer systems and showed an aptitude for programming.
Also his last name is a stock character name from a nerd in a college frat house comedy.
Yeah, that's fair. And let's not forget also to throw into the amazement, we're talking about like early 70s that this kid was setting up his dad's fucking business software.
Yeah, just, across like 3 or 4 Buick-sized machines.
Yeah. I mean, this kid graduated early. And at 16, he was a sophomore at Michigan State University, majoring in computer science. He was also, of course, a huge science fiction nerd, which comes as no surprise because he's got the name Dallas Egbert.
Kevin,
He's
what is
Dallas
it about?
Egbert the Third.
Yes.
What is it about people with the first name Dallas and unusual connections to Dungeons and Dragons?
I'm going to talk about that at the end of this because that is irony, isn't it?
I would say irony, more of like
Coincidence.
Coppery or maybe Nickel-y.
Nikola Tesla?
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrible. So he also discovered in only its 3rd year of existence Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. He probably loved Thaco.
The fact that we can bring up Thaco here and some people will have like a little spot in the brain get the tingles says a lot about the people who listen to us.
Or some people will just have like convulsions and like they'll be like, they'll make the face when you like suck on a half of a lemon.
Yes.
That's the face they'll make.
Yeah, no, we say Thaco and somebody out there's doing the Sideshow Bob.
Some people are dry retching.
Yep. So this is where the problem starts, though.
Yeah,
not Thaco, but not Thaco, but Dungeons and Dragons. Okay.
If someone ever tells you they understand Thaco, they're lying.
Yeah, it's like if somebody tells you they understand quantum physics, they're lying. So, August 15th, 1979, 16-year-old Dallas left his dorm room and vanished. The college was aware of this, but didn't inform his parents for a full 5 days. And when they did, the Egberts hired private investigator Bill Deere. Now, Bill Deere is a media chaser. He ties himself to famous cases or cases that can become famous. He led the call to exhume Lee Harvey Oswald's grave to examine it.
Jesus Christ.
He was an expert on the Fox Alien Autopsy Special.
Fuck.
He swore to O.J. Simpson's innocence and was an expert in the case.
He's like the Marvel Cinematic Universe cameo. Like, he's the Wong of every wacky thing of the 20th century.
I was going to say he's a Stan Lee of all this, but but what I'm saying is that after some mild digging into the man, after reading his book, I don't know how much I trust this guy.
Often wrong, Bill.
He's a sensationalist. His book is dramatized to hell and back. It's full of stories of him doing amazing things and playing it off in an "aw shucks, ma'am" kind of bravado. I'll point out some examples as we go along, but I want you guys to know that Bill Deere is one of the only sources of detailed information on this, and those details are probably bullshit. I'm not saying he's a bad detective. I'm saying he's a bad media person. So during Bill's investigations, he and his team discovered Dallas suffered from severe depression, which included previous suicide attempts, rampant drug use, and making his own fucking drugs for himself and his friends. His involvement with the underground homosexual scene in Michigan, and most importantly, his love of sci-fi and D&D.
Like, this dude just sounds like half of my classmates in grad school.
Yeah, I think me and Mike knew several of this guy. So, Bill also found that Dallas would go trestling. And this is where you go and lay on the railroad bridge as a train passes over. Or, if it has a cattle catcher, you hang from the trestle over the river. Either way, Bill makes a big deal of going out and doing this himself because, quote, he has to get inside the kid's mind. I probably don't have to explain how reckless and idiotic that is if he actually did it.
Now, did Bill Deere also have to get involved with the underground homosexual scene in Michigan to get inside the kid's mind?
You know, it's funny you mentioned that. Here's a little detail I purposely didn't put in the script so I could tell this story. So Bill ended up with a guy volunteering to help look for Dallas, who was a homosexual man from New York in 1979. Big risk coming out to this guy, telling him I'm gay. And what Bill did was send him into the homosexual community to try to find information. And this dude, for lack of a better term, fucked and sucked his way all the way across the city and found nothing.
Well, nothing but a good time.
Exactly. That's the only reason he did this, I think, was to basically go, I'm going to get fucked.
Holy crap.
So, yeah, no, this book is amazing. Just don't believe anything he says. So, in Dallason's room, they discovered a corkboard with thumbtacks making a pattern that seemed to correspond to the heating tunnels under the school and a suicide note of dubious authorship. I say that because there were questions about the handwriting. They sent it to handwriting experts that said, we're not sure that this was actually written by Dallas. It, of course, turned out to be written by Dallas. So Bill Lear became obsessed with the heating tunnels and Dallas's obsession with D&D. Because everyone he talked to told him how into D&D Dallas was. They also painted this insane picture of, it's weird, it's only for intellectuals, and it's kind of freaky.
Freaky deaky, man.
Yeah. So the tunnels proved to be a problem since the school insisted that not only were they off limits, but completely inaccessible in any way. And this was wrong in every sense of the word. The tunnels were a popular place for drug deals, secret meetings of teens having fun, D&D sessions, and just a way to get from building to building out of the cold in a Michigan winter.
Oh, and plus Freddy Krueger hung out down there.
I wouldn't be surprised. So, what really seemed to strike Bill, though, was Dungeons & Dragons. And I can't blame him after reading the book. This is a 42-year-old guy in 1979, which he talks about being old and then says he's 42, and I'm like, fuck you, you kid. Go fuck yourself.
Oh, like you're much older than that.
48.
Yeah, you got 6 years on him.
Yeah.
Big whoop.
At the time. Anyway, so he comes into this extremely weird world of proto-nerds and learns that they sit around playing a mind game with math and dice. That's some crazy shit for a boomer to stumble on. Now, the problem is that, like I said, most students on campus also didn't understand D&D or the people that played it. They painted it as a shadowy world for people into witchcraft and Satanism, and it was invite only. And, okay, fair enough. D&D for years always attracted two kinds of people, the intellectual and the outsider. I say this from personal experience during my youth. There were weird and cool folks playing D&D, and some of those people were one or the other, not always both weird and cool.
No. In fact, I'd say very infrequently do you have the crossroads of weird and cool.
Yeah.
Oh, it's kind of like rolling disadvantage on a charisma check.
And
here's the other thing. They describe it as like dark and shadowy. Have you ever tried to play Dungeons and Dragons in a dark fucking room? You can't read the dice.
Oh, no,
you can't read your fucking character sheet.
I played in a dark room constantly because you know what?
How's your eyesight, man?
I just got a new prescription for my glasses. Thank you.
Fucking exactly. I literally I have a foldable dice tray someone gave me, and I can't roll on that. I have to roll on white paper, so I have enough light that goes through my fucking dice, so that way I can read the number.
Look, this had the effect on my eyes that listening to Metallica had on Mike's hearing.
My hearing's not that bad. I have less tinnitus than you do.
That's true. I have real bad tinnitus. So, again, Bill decides to get into the kid's head. So he buys the D&D books and reads them. And then he gets in touch with a local hobby shop who then puts him in touch with a DM. And Bill tells the guy, I will give you $60 to run me a D&D game. So this guy agrees, and he brings a friend to be another player. Which I kind of feel like this is a, dude, I got a weirdo offering me money to run D&D. You want to be my backup just in case?
$60 and, what was it, 79. Yeah, that's like, it's got to be like close to $200 something
and it's
today's money.
And it's in the height of the serial killer boom, so like he's
just
like,
saying,
I could disappear.
I'm just saying, for some, teenaged nerds, that's a lot of money.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Well, and the other thing is, like, now people are paying people to DM like online campaigns for them. So,
oh yeah.
Like trailblazing right there.
Yep, there you go. So what follows in Bill's book is honestly the most accurate description of a well-run D&D game I've ever read. It's a 3-hour adventure full of monsters and moral choices and action and adventure. And Bill has a great fucking time. But he really emphasizes the losing yourself in the game aspect of the experience. And he ascribes it to the game itself instead of the fact that Bill might actually be a giant dork and not realize it. The guy's a PI. He has a meticulous mind for facts and puts himself into other people's heads for a living. Of course, Dungeons and Dragons is going to end up appealing to him.
Now, did he write about what class he played? Because my guess is going to be Paladin.
He did.
Fuck.
He played a wizard named Tor. Yes.
I would love to see his character sheet.
He published it. That's the other thing. He publishes his character sheet in the fucking book.
Now I'm curious, like, if it was a good build.
It was a pretty good build, actually. He did pretty good.
God damn it, he missed his calling.
Yeah, no, it was him and a paladin, and he fucking did really well.
Holy shit.
Mike, thoughts so far on this dude?
I don't know.
I don't know. I kind of want to play D&D with him, though.
I mean, I guess, he's used to lying, so.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And not just for the book. I mean, he is a PI. He does have to lie, so. But anyway, during all this, Bill is drip-feeding the press to egg the school into letting him into the heating tunnels. Now, this includes the idea that Dallas may have gone into the tunnels to play a live-action single-player game of D&D and may have become hurt or lost.
So he's just doing the whole Al Capone's vault thing. Like,
yeah.
A couple decades before Geraldo.
Now that you say it, yeah, pretty much.
Shit.
Now the press... oh, shit. Now, the press runs with this, and his representation of it as a strange way to lose yourself. Other interviews about the game start to paint a picture of a cult because of its link with the occult groups on campus.
How many fucking occult groups did they have? Like, more than one?
Yes.
Holy
you would
shit.
Be surprised.
Probably had the Lovecraft Society and the Tolkien.
Well, the Tolkien
nerds.
Society used to go out and do rites in the woods.
Fuck yeah, man.
Yeah, no, it sounds pretty fucking cool. I want to get a time machine and go there. But before we'll pick back up on all that in a second because we need to finish up with Dallas. But before we do that, we're going to go ahead and take a break, and we will be right back after this.
Hey man, what's got you off in your phone there?
Oh, just going through all the funny Mothman memes and supernatural shit posts I've been wanting to share. I just don't know where to put the posts yet.
Don't you know about the Supernatural Selection Discord?
We have a Discord?
Yeah, for years, dude. Where have you been?
Can people chat with the hosts and get previews of upcoming episodes and generally post funny shit as much as they want with other listeners?
I mean, if that's your bag. I mean, personally, I wouldn't do that, but There are even live streaming events for the shows there, too. You've been in a few. How do you not know this stuff?
It must have been my doppelganger. How do I get into the Discord?
It's easy. Just visit discord.supernaturalselectionpod.com. Now say that 3 times fast.
Well, that's perfect. Now I can share 3 terabytes of Hollow Earth memes. Get it? Terabytes.
Never mind. Forget I said anything. Just don't do that. You should definitely not visit discord.supernaturalselectionpod.com to join the Discord. Don't. We don't want you there.
Too late. I'm already posting my alien abduction fan fiction with the general chat.
Join the hosts and listeners of Supernatural Selection on the official Discord. Just visit discord.supernaturalselectionpod.com.
Hey, Kevin here. Hope you're enjoying the episode.
Hey, who are you talking to, Kevin?
Listeners of our shows. I also want to let them know that if they're enjoying what we've been doing, they can support us on Patreon.
Oh, Patreon. Were you going to tell them about the early episodes? Also, Patreon-exclusive episodes that can be found there, too?
Well, yeah, I was going to do
yeah, and then there's the other cool stuff, including art, and merch for subscribers, like tote bags, hoodies, shirts, mugs.
Yeah, and
can you believe people could support us for only $5 a month? You're definitely going to mention that too, right?
I was. Support Supernatural Selection and the Distraction Hole on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. Visit patreon.supernaturalselectionpod.com to learn more and get started today. Mike, are you recording?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
See, that's called role-playing, because he's not actually recording anything.
Yes, very good, Mike. You get experience for that.
You get inspiration.
Yes, and we're back. How you guys doing? Are you guys feeling? How are you guys feeling about the investigation so far?
So it's been interesting to see like this combination of, you know, the investigator getting into the spirit and the recognition of the appeal of the game, while also omitting and like fudging details to sell what is like a prescribed and spicy narrative. It's super depressing.
Is it?
You know, to me, it's super depressing because like he's seeing the value of this game, and yet he's still perpetrating actions that will try to rob that joy from other people.
Yeah, the motherfucker played it and enjoyed it, and this. I know he's trying to manipulate the media, but it is a shitty thing to do. Mike, thoughts?
I mean, I'm sure he couldn't foresee the moral panic, but he's definitely like trumping it up for, you know, sales and you know.
He comes in with that angle of like, oh, well, this is kind of different from
sensationalizing it.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. And again, part of this was to manipulate the school, but yeah. So let's get to the search for young Dallas Egbert III. So eventually, Bill and law enforcement get permission from the school to go into the heating tunnels. And it takes them about 3 to 4 hours to go through the route they choose, and they find nothing really of import.
Well, except roach clips and used condoms.
You're pretty accurate there. That and beer bottles, and somehow they did manage to get a fucking dinner table down there for the D&D games.
Like, can we also talk about the fact that he led a party into what is essentially a dungeon?
I know, savor the irony there. Now, Bill makes a big deal of going on about the hellish conditions in the heating tunnels, the dungeon-like nature of the place, with its brick walls and close quarters and infinite-seeming pipes, the occasional deadly jets of steam and the scalding nature of the air. He talks of crawling through burning mazes of pipes for miles and becoming positive that if Dallas is down there, he's dead.
Like, he sounds like he would have made a great DM and he missed his calling.
I know. Like
what a dramatic bitch. He works up a sweat looking for someone for a couple hours, and it's like, oh god, the blasting steam was so horrible.
Yeah, no, it's fucking amazing. It's a great written book, but fuck it. So, I found a video of the tunnels on YouTube, because of course I did, after reading that. The tunnels are not brick, gentlemen. The tunnels are concrete slab walls, floor, and roof.
Well, what is concrete but really big bricks?
Touche, sir. Now, the tunnels do have low ceilings, but being service tunnels, they have ample walkways. The tunnels, while I wouldn't call them safe, I also wouldn't call them dungeon-like.
Except for that they're under the ground.
Yeah, I'd consider it more of some place the Cenobites might hang out, maybe?
Now, what would make it dungeon-like? What is the line here?
There's slime and chains and brick and...
At least 2 goblins.
Goblins, yeah.
At least,
trolls.
and a Wookalar.
Skeletons. Both,
Yeah.
Animated and unanimated.
There's a mimic. It looks like a tool chest.
Yeah, exactly. It's got like a ham sandwich sitting on top of it. Now, I get the sneaky suspicion that when Bill wrote this book back in 1984, he didn't expect anyone to ever be able to fact-check those tunnels. He also didn't expect anyone to be able to take fucking video and publish it publicly out there where everyone can watch it.
Yeah, it's funny how that works. I don't know if these are more like lies of omission or like deliberate falsehoods to build the case of this being satanic. But, like, if this had happened in the last, 20 years, this would have never blown up the way it did because culturally we seek out the receipts for everything. People would have had video of those tunnels, within hours of him publishing this thing.
Oh, yeah. And the problem also is I don't think it was necessarily a trying to trump up the Satanism aspect of it in the book. I seriously think it's, look how brave I am.
Yeah, I got really, really hot in that tunnel, guys. It sucked.
Guys, it really sucked, man. I got really hot and it was sweaty.
I stubbed my toe.
Actually, he did. That is like a fucking plot point in the book. That is funny you mentioned that. Like, it is a major plot point when he stubs his toe the first time in the tunnels.
Chapter 36, the stubbing of the toe.
So, we're going to just cut to the chase here with Dallas. Dallas was living a miserable life. The few social circles he managed to join had more or less asked him to stop showing up, but still wanted his help with schoolwork. His drug use had escalated. He was being pressured by his parents to reach higher and higher academic goals due to his intelligence. And on top of that, Dallas Egbert III was gay in 1979. And at that point, homosexuality was still listed in the ICD as a mental illness.
Yeah, that wouldn't end until, I think, 1990.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
So, what I'm saying is life was hard for this kid. With all that already, and then when you throw major depressive disorder on top of it, it leads somewhere really fucking dark. Mm. Now, Dallas left a suicide note that day, went into the tunnels, and attempted an overdose on homemade drugs. And when it failed, he woke up the next day in the tunnels. He ran to one of his friends' houses. He was then shuffled from house to house as people got fed up with him. Dallas eventually ended up outside of New Orleans, working for an oil company after another suicide attempt with cyanide.
Jesus.
After 4 days on the job, he became aware of the media circus around his disappearance, and he contacted Bill Deere. And, of course, Bill went and picked him up. He made Bill promise not to divulge the details of his case while he was alive. And to his credit, Bill agreed, and Dallas was returned safely home. All told, Dallas had been missing a month by the end of it all.
Like, the dude lived more in 1 month than most people do in years. Like, he ended up working in a goddamn oil field. That's like third act, several years later territory in a movie.
Yeah, I know. It's like the fucking final sacrifice 7 years later, and then there's the oil field.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, would you run away to work on an oil field out of depression?
Not depression. Maybe, if I got a good offer.
Okay.
Like, if I feel depressed, I don't want to work.
That's also true.
Yeah.
Now, I will say it does sound like something Claremont would have done with X-Men, where it's like Cyclops disappears for 20 issues and then he shows up on an oil field in Dallas or something. And yeah, I'm still reading X-Men. What of it? Anyway, I wish this was a happy ending for this story, but it ain't. 1 year, almost to the day after his disappearance, Dallas dropped out and was working at his father's optometrist business. And Dallas ended his life with a gunshot to the head. The death was a tragedy, and the media, being what it is, latched onto it. And since Bill Deere and the family remained silent, they started blaming the death on his involvement with Dungeons and Dragons. Now, to his credit, Bill Deere's book lays that story to rest. He stresses that the factors in Dallas's life led to his disappearance and death, and that the links to the game were a red herring.
Too little, too late, though. Like, incredibly frustrating.
It is. It is terribly frustrating. Especially since, we made our... It's like, I don't know. It pisses me off. The entire thing pisses me the fuck off.
Yeah.
Not the least of which, because if people would just, like, fucking... I don't know, man. What really pisses me off is I don't want him around. You fucking take him.
Yeah, and just, like, there's so many, like, layers to this. It's an onion of misery.
It is. And Bill Deere in the book says, I failed him. Everyone in the world failed this kid. And I get that, because his parents were not helpful with this.
Well, like, at least Bill Deere is, like, he's a little more complicated than, like, a monster in this, which...
Yes, I wouldn't do an episode of Behind the Bastards about him.
Yeah, no, I still, it's one of those things where it's like, this little thing is going to spiral out of control in, like, the worst fucking way possible, and he could have been there to... Like, and I can't put the blame solely on him, but this was, like, a major... This was a major thing that would lead to these larger ideas, and, like, just, it's frustrating.
It is, and you see why this took so long.
Yeah,
there were fucking emotions I had to process with this episode.
Yeah.
So after this, the media had started asking the question, are your college students in danger of joining the D&D cult and killing themselves in tunnels under the school? Oddly specific, I know.
Well, apparently it was a going concern based on Season 4 of Stranger Things.
Was it? I didn't see Season 4.
Yeah, Season 4 was, there was a big, like, D&D panic subplot and everything like that.
Okay. Mike, did you watch that season?
I don't think so. I don't know.
Okay.
It's the season with the Human Torch, the new guy playing Human Torch.
Oh, the metal guy.
Playing Eddie Munson, like the panty dropper for the season.
Yeah,
everyone loved him.
Yeah, I know. When we were at Dragon Con last year, I couldn't get away from the
I
shirts.
don't know why I couldn't remember that. I saw that season.
Yeah, because he played Metallica on the show, didn't he?
Yeah. He did Master of Puppets, and then like they named their D&D club the Hellfire Club. Like,
yes,
yeah, like he's cool. It's cool.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, no, he's the kind of kid you would want to have hung out with back then when we were young.
Yep.
So, 2 books came out after all this. Now, the first, Hobgoblin, was a horror/psychological thriller about a kid becoming obsessed with an RPG and the real world and the fantasy world blending, and his mind leading to disastrous consequences. It was a cash grab, and we're not here to talk about it. But it is funny that it happened twice. This one was more like, this first book, Hobgoblin, was more like something you'd like, cheap book you pick up at the airport by Dean Koontz kind of thing.
Yeah, no, it's one of those, like, there's a social issue going on, like, quick trash is published.
This
like,
is an entertainment book.
Yeah, we had the same thing with the coronavirus. You had all these, like, cheap coronavirus zombie things that would come out. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Now, the second book, Mazes and Monsters, was the bane of my fucking existence. The book by Rona Jaffe was a book meant to panic the public about the dangers of D&D and other RPGs. This book had much more of an impact. Hell, lots of fundamentalists took it as a true story of real facts. The story of this book, though, is the same synopsis as the last one we just talked about. Now, why did this one catch on and not the other? The TV movie.
So a couple thoughts. Like, if you were to put, like, the top, like, 5 books of the Satanic Panic, the Mazes and Monsters would definitely be in there.
Oh, yeah, that.
Along with Michelle Remembers.
Yep.
And I could probably rattle off a couple others. I'm not going to, though. The other thing is, we also should at some point talk about Jack Chick's infamous comic about Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes.
Which is just, again, this larger narrative of people going crazy over their characters.
Oh, yeah. Which, the great thing about the Jack Chick, the Chick track about D&D is, it's like it takes everything we've talked about that people were scared of and, like, cranks it up to 11 with the melodrama.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, you've read this, right?
It's
you
been
seen
quite a while, probably.
It's fucking hilarious, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, and most chick tracks are hilarious until you realize this dude is heart attack serious.
Or if he's not, he's trying, he wants people to believe it.
Yeah. And the funny thing is I'm collecting them now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one of our friends is a trucker, and I told him, you find a chick track, you keep it, you bring it to me. I don't want to buy these on eBay. I want them from the wild.
Some free-range chick tracks.
Yeah, and I have a feeling the D&D one is going to be hard to find since, the Panic's kind of...
you can still order it from his website.
Oh, I'm not giving him money.
No, but I'm just saying they're still going to be floating out around there. There's probably been a resurgence of them since, like, Stranger Things. And stuff,
that's possible.
I mean? But, no, the mantra should be find a track, bring it back.
Yeah.
There you go.
Also, if anyone out there listening has a chick track, you can, you know what? We need a P.O. box.
Oh, Lord, yes. We need a P.O. box. I would love to, just a stream of us going through these and reading them.
Yeah, we need, I'm going to get a P.O. box sometime in the future, and David, if you get one, we can have East Coast, West Coast wars over who gets a weirder shit.
Oh, man, that'd be great. Yeah, I think my dad has, because my dad's in, he's kind of like a churchy person. So he's got, a few of them, and I might just steal them from him.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, he doesn't, read them. He just gets them from the church community. But it's they belong to me now.
Mike, if you find any, let me know.
Yeah, I've never, but, you never know.
Yeah. So, in December... After that, in December of 1982, a TV movie of Mazes and Monsters was broadcast on CBS, exposing the entire country to the idea of RPGs severely affecting a kid's mental health.
Starring America's sweetheart, Tom Hanks.
Yes, Tom Hanks. Now, I've watched bits of this recently, along with several reviews, because the film makes me so goddamn angry. The entire thing is stupid. There's a character whose defining trait is that he wears hats. Different hats. It's garbage. And when I say different hats, he goes to a party wearing a World War I Kaiser helmet.
Oh, see, I thought his character was a level 12 haberdasher.
Oh, you wish. Now, it also put the dangers of Dungeons & Dragons front and center for the American public. I can't stress enough that people thought this was a real story with names changed to protect the innocent. Everyone was losing their minds over the idea that kids were killing themselves or joining satanic cults in caves and access tunnels all over the country. And one last note on Mazes and Monsters before we move on to the next little bit of this. While the show led to the demonization of a game, it also gave us bosom buddies, so that's something to think about,
Well, and I mean, Bosom Buddies, that show itself was a form of live-action roleplay, only instead of fighting dragons, it was fighting the glass ceiling.
You're right. And actually, fuck it, it was a good show.
Yeah, no, it was fine. It's of its time, but that's fine.
Do you know him and Peter Scolari stayed friends until Peter Scolari died?
Oh,
I fucking love that.
oh.
Yeah. Did you ever see that did either of y'all ever see that Conan O'Brien Celebrity Secrets Revealed thing?
Yes.
You know the sketches I'm talking about where it's like they're down in a basement at a table with a bottle of scotch and like a cigarette under like one light, and they tell like some horrible secret, and Tom Hanks, he just goes, back during the making of Bosom Buddies, me and Peter Scolari went out in costume one night. Made $150 a piece. I was like, this is great.
You keep saying Bosom Buddies, but you could just call it, dang it. I got nothing for Dungeons.
Oh.
If I had,
Dungeons and Drag Queens? No, that already exists.
Oh,
That already
well, not
exists.
Dungeons, but I wanted something else like
Dorms and Drag Queens.
Dormitories and Drag Queens.
Yeah.
There you go.
We got there in the
We
end.
workshopped it.
Yep. That's
You know what? Tom Hanks should join like a Critical Role campaign for an episode just to like fix things like cosmically, like fix the balance.
I completely agree.
I think he would do it. I think he would be wonderful playing like Elminster or something.
And you know what? If you send it to him on a typewriter written letter, he'd do it because he has like a bizarre obsession and collection of typewriters.
Like
Oh
a real
yeah, no.
typewriter.
You send it to him handwritten with the signature Frank Darabont, and he'll do it. 'Cause, that's
No, seriously, he showed up on the Nerdist because
Mm-hmm.
he sent him a typed letter and was like, I'll give you the typewriter if you show up.
that's wonderful.
Yeah. So anyway, this is not a Tom Hanks podcast.
Well,
So-
it could be. It could be if we
It could-
really wanted to.
But we shouldn't.
Yeah.
So the next part of our story involves a woman named Patricia Pulling.
Pulling what?
Pulling my fucking leg. So
Woo!
that's terrible.
Good one, guys. We're nailing it.
Yeah, buddy. So Patricia lived in Virginia, and her son Irving tragically committed suicide in June of 1982.
You.
He was also, unfortunately, an avid player of Dungeons and Dragons. Now, Miss Pulling, in her grief, decided that the game was obviously the reason for her son's death. In fact, she started 2 lawsuits. The first was against the principal of her son's high school because of a curse he placed on Irving's D&D character that caused him to kill himself.
Now, would the modern equivalent of this be like teabagging someone in Fortnite?
Probably.
I suppose if you shot yourself after being teabagged, yes. Now, the other lawsuit was, of course, against TSR, the makers of Dungeons and Dragons. And both lawsuits were dismissed by the court because they were full of shit. So, rare case where the courts were like, get the fuck out of here.
What the fuck you talking about?
What the fuck? Get out of here, you crazy kook. So, Miss Pulling then founded an activist group called Bothered About Dungeons and Dragons, or BADD. Bad.
Who's bad?
God damn it, Mike.
Dungeons and Dragons, apparently.
Yeah. So, if you grew up in the 80s, you'll be familiar with groups like Mothers Against Drunk Driving and Students
Mad.
Against Drunk Driving.
Sad.
Sad. Now
Mad,
bad.
sad, bad, and there's glad. I mean, you get the point. Basically, everybody wanted something that rhymed with had. So, now, the organization was extremely active worldwide, strangely enough, particularly in Australia, in trying to either destroy the idea of role-playing games or have them regulated by law.
Okay, so I do want to say Down Under Dark, because you mentioned Australia.
Yeah, God damn it.
Yeah, okay, anyway. So, the year, 1987. Brave members of the Resistance smuggles plastic dice into the TTRPG exclusion zone. That's the future they wanted.
I could see that being on an episode of Best of the Worst.
I just thought of Down Under Dark and I had to do it.
Oh, yeah. No, I got it. It's great. So the religious right ate this shit up.
You.
Yeah.
Chorophilia.
Yep, pretty much. Ooh, is that a copper light? So, I'm going to quote their description of Dungeons and Dragons here to give you some idea, not just of their tactics, but their actual view of what they thought happened in your typical game. Like, you should be flashing, "This is what bad actually believes" at the bottom of the screen. All right, so, quote, Dungeons and Dragons is a fantasy role-playing game which uses demonology, witchcraft, voodoo, murder, rape, blasphemy, suicide, assassination, insanity, sex perversion, homosexuality, prostitution, satanic-type rituals, gambling, barbarianism, cannibalism, sadism, desecration, demon summoning, necromantics, divination, and other teachings.
Cue the Critical Role cry of, "Is it Thursday yet?"
Well, I mean, technically, most of those things are in the game, like
Can
in
be.
rule sets.
That's just me when I play a warlock.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not like it's telling you how to summon a demon. It's saying, "All right, your demon skill is 15. Roll a d20." And
yeah, 9 times out of 10, you're rolling an at 1, so it doesn't matter.
yeah, so yeah, no, I mean, I can see why. I don't know.
Yeah, we're gonna have to talk about the major Satanic Panic later.
I'm sure the sex perversion comes because people can play an opposite gender.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
That's probably also
or what
homosexuality.
happens at the table is squirrel moments, and people are suddenly like, "Okay, well, I'm going to try to fuck the gnome."
Yeah, yep.
Like this does not seem out of, like, honestly, their description of what's going on here can apply to some games I've been in. To be fair,
Yeah, Mike, you remember that time you played a dwarf that fell madly in love with a centaur girl, and we were like, "Do you need a stepladder?"
Yeah, no, in his defense, in my defense, he was a ranger. So here's this, nice centaur lady. And I'm like, I'm gonna make a roll, and I rolled. Is like, yep, he fell in love with her.
Yeah.
Ranger, you just met her.
My God, it's a woman and a horse.
Yes.
It's everything I could possibly want. So churches and televangelists latched onto this idea and got in on spreading the idea of D&D being a thinly disguised occult ritual. I mean, like, dude, my mom got me a pamphlet from the 700 Club.
A pamphlet.
Pamphlet. From the 700 Club. I had Pat Robertson propaganda telling me how D&D was evil.
Oh man, do you still have it?
Nope. Threw it out when my mom, actually as soon as my mom turned her back.
Yeah.
So it took years for this thinking to start to get out of society on the whole. And I know it still isn't completely out. I know there are still some folk here in Mississippi that have told me to my face it is still a tool of the fucking devil.
Kevin, is
but they would also say the same thing about electricity. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
No, because they love air conditioning.
Yep.
No, Kevin, is this what set up your lifelong troubles with math? Because D&D is just all math.
No.
And
I was having problems with math before Dungeons and Dragons.
Well, but I'm saying if you had been able to play Dungeons and Dragons more openly, maybe it would have helped your math.
Maybe.
D&D is great for getting theater kids to learn numbers.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
It's great for getting, numbers kids to learn, some modicum of interaction.
That's
you
true.
You got your social connections in my game. You got your dice rolling in my social connections.
It's two good things that are going to be persecuted for about 20 years.
And both kids are getting shoved in lockers.
Yep, pretty much. So, in the modern era, D&D has obviously had a major resurgence, and part of that is due to the rise of Let's Play video series and podcasts like Critical Role, Dungeons and Daddies, and The Adventure Zone. Also, if you'd like to hear another good one, I want to plug Spooky Dice Bag, which I'm in the cast of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe one day they'll make an animated series of yours.
Yeah, right. So D&D also made it into the mainstream with the famous episode of Community, which is a show I wish I could get into, but I can't. Oh well.
It truly, it's an amazing episode. It's sad that they pulled it off because
Yeah,
of the drow blackface thing.
Yeah, that is so bullshit. I mean, it's blackface, but it's not blackface.
It's a drow.
The context is a fucking drow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, they play it up a little bit as
I know a dude that dressed up like
but
that.
it's just dumb.
Yeah.
It's just dumb that they such a and as far as I can tell, nobody had no audience had a problem with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there was just this kind of from on high,
somebody at the network.
Yeah. Decided that episode was problematic, and there was no one complained about it.
Yeah. Like that said, I also recall an episode of Dexter's Laboratory as a kid that featured Dexter and his friends you only ever see in 2 episodes playing Dungeons and Dragons, and it was called Monsters and Mazes.
I remember that because Dee Dee got in there and was playing.
Yeah, and Dexter was playing Hogo, the furry-footed burrower.
Yes. It was a joke about everything fantasy.
Yeah. There was also that notable scene of in E.T. where the kids are playing D&D.
I don't think I've seen E.T. in 30 years, so...
Yeah, they're literally playing E.T. at the kitchen table with Pizza Hut and shit like that, typical D&D. You know what I mean?
Right.
And of course we also have to have our obligatory Futurama reference with Gary Gygax voicing himself in a couple of episodes.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
You want to know how widespread
the dice
it
away
is?
or I'm taking them away. Sorry.
Mike, you're saying?
I want to know how widespread it is. Now, don't ask me how I know this.
Uh-oh.
But they even played a thinly veiled version of Dungeons and Dragons in the 2011 My Little Pony show.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I forget what it was called. It was like Griffins and something or other or something like that. But
interesting.
So,
well, that show also had Weird Al Yankovic.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
And frickin' John DeLance as basically a Q ripoff.
That's true. So, lastly, as far as pop culture, let's not forget Stranger Things, which David mentioned earlier. Now, I'm going to give the first season of that show a shit ton of credit for capturing the weird-ass mood of an early 80s D&D game in the basement. It was always dark, no one was around, and you were going to be socially ridiculed for playing it. Funnily enough, that allowed the major what really helped with the major resurgence was the release of D&D 5th edition in the last few years. Not to get too deep in the weeds into the actual game, but it streamlined the system and put a focus back on roleplay, and I personally am enjoying it. And again, fuck Thaco.
I too am afraid of math.
Well, Thaco was gotten rid of in what, 3rd edition?
Yes,
but the scars never heal.
Yeah, exactly. I bear psychic scars of Thaco.
But no, I mean, so once again, the saying is dark and socially. Look, when I was in middle school, we played D&D in school. During our free time.
I don't even want to know what would have happened if we had tried that. When I started playing in junior high, we would have been fucked.
Well, you're in Mississippi, and of
yes.
course I was in Louisiana at the time.
Yeah, where there's no such a thing as a designated driver. So.
Oh, shut up. Look, okay.
It's a joke.
We raised the minimum drinking age to 21 only after the federal government threatened to pull all funding from, roads. Sure. But we got there in the end.
Yeah, that's true.
In 1983, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
The last holdout of the 21-year-old drinking.
I'm very proud of y'all for that.
What, the last? You shouldn't be proud of anybody.
No, for just raising the age. I'm very proud y'all did it.
We did it because we didn't want to lose the money for the roads.
Oh, I know. And God, y'all need it. I mean, the whole place is a swamp.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, how successful has D&D been?
Well, I don't know. How successful has it been, Kevin?
Hasbro bought it for a buttload of money, so it better be successful.
Yeah,
right?
no shit. Transformers is now the owner of D&D, but Honor Amongst Thieves came out, and successful or not, I know I enjoyed the shit out of it, and Mike and David, you did too, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And Let's Play podcasts continue to be a popular genre. And most importantly, you can walk into your local Target and buy a D&D starter set off the shelf. I promise you, I never thought in my wildest dreams I'd see the day where I could buy D&D books without having to deal with the comic book guy from The Simpsons.
I bought my D&D starter set, like my first starter set. I think it was back when it was 3.5 at a Walden Books, which doesn't even exist anymore.
Man,
That was like a major chain bookstore.
When I was a kid, playing D&D, getting the books was like finding woods porn. Now, Mike, you said a few days ago that you didn't really notice the, quote, resurgence when we were talking. And can you sort of expand on that a little bit?
No.
Oh.
Because I don't remember if I had a thought at the time.
Okay, well, I was just saying, like, you know, how it was, I don't know. Okay, that's fine.
Maybe just because, you know, it's always been a thing. Thing in my life.
Like based on your circle, yeah.
Yeah.
So
we've always had friends playing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of it has to do with like the makeup of your community as well.
And also,
like,
you hadn't had to go deal with the comic book guy for the books for a long time because they've been in bookstores.
They've been in bookstores, but seeing it in Target was mind blowing.
Yeah, that is a little different, but you know.
Yeah. When I bought Holly her first set of dice, I got her like at Walmart. It was like $10 or $12 for a dice tower, a literal dice tower. It came with some dice in it, and I got that out of fucking Walmart.
Jesus.
Yeah.
David, you had a point there you were going to make?
Oh yeah, no, I'm sorry. I thought Mike had something coming up. Okay, yeah.
Nope, he is drinking.
Yeah, okay, yeah. No, we had to get that ice clink there. So we could also talk about the explosion of D&D onto YouTube, because that's like the biggest thing, I think.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but we could also talk about like the various controversies, such as the OGL scandal, usage of AI, the various monetization schemes, the crowding out of other games because the YouTube algorithm is heavily skewed towards D&D following the pandemic. That just feels like more of a thing for our other show, though. But,
we're going to have like a nerd RPG talk, because we need to talk about Call of Cthulhu. It's almost as old as D&D and still chugging along, but way less successful.
Yeah.
So, all that being said, I would like to tell you a short version of my experience with D&D and the Satanic Panic. Now, I have probably told a version of this before, but I want to get it down for posterity in some level of detail, so, just bear with me, throw in your thoughts as we go, okay? So, it was junior high school when I'd managed to hook back up with my friend from elementary school, Marty, which, as Mike pointed out, Marty's real name was Dallas. Went by Marty, though. And Marty was always odd. Mike, you've met him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only once or twice, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, he'd introduced me to D&D one weekend when I'd spent the night. And he ran a one-player game for me, and I was fucking hooked. He had the graph paper and everything, Mm-hmm. So I rolled up a thief named Galen, who was morally ambiguous. And I remember one game with our friend Russell, I tied up a goblin that was supposed to guide us out of the dungeon, and I doused him in lamp oil and set him on fire because he didn't have any loot on him.
Oh, so typical murder hobo.
I kind of shocked everybody in the room when that happened.
Kevin, buddy, you okay?
Yeah, it was kind of like that. I was like, I got a lot of things in my head. So
the fire makes him go away.
Now, I remember it was in the trailer of his mom's boyfriend where they were living at the time, where we played that first game. And we had a straight-up D&D weekend. We even went in the closet and found a bunch of clothes and dressed as our characters from the game and ran around outside with sticks.
Hell yeah.
So Marty sent me home with a first edition player's guide, and we kept playing after he moved down to. I've got Byram in the strip, but it dawned on me it was down McClure. Mike, do you remember where your uncle's friend Kelly lived? Near the old Lake Road houses?
Sort of.
Those buildings got torn down because they were a fucking death trap. Well, that's where Marty was living. But it was closer to home than where he was living prior. Anyway, point is, one weekend I got dropped off back home by my mom, and when I came in the back door, there was Tom Hanks' face on the TV, acting like a wizard, and my parents turned and looked at me with fear in their eyes. And they asked me if I'd ever heard of this Dungeons and Dragons game. I told them yes, but I hadn't played. I mean, you walk in, your parents are, and specifically my mom, was losing her shit. Of course I lied.
I believe you mean bluff check?
Yes, pretty much. Now, my mom and dad made me promise I'd never play Dungeons and Dragons or any other RPG. All right, so jump forward probably a few months or so. I come home from school, and my mom has a player's handbook in her lap. And I immediately just start sweating.
Why couldn't it have been porn?
Yeah, because I didn't have any. I had the J.C. Penney catalog.
Oh, but that's what you were thinking.
Oh, yeah. Why couldn't it have been a handgun? So I need to explain that this is the one with the giant devil statue on the cover with the two guys prying the eyes out and a bunch of unsavory adventurers standing around. It is not a friendly-looking book to find in your child's room. So my mom asked me where I'd gotten it, so I told her the truth. I told her Marty. And she told me to give him the book back instead of, throwing it away or burning it. And told me that if she ever found out that I'd been playing the game again, that I, at the tender age of 13, would be thrown out of the house and that no one in the family would ever speak to me again.
Jesus.
So I gave the book back to Marty ASAP, of course. And I also continued to play D&D at his house. So eventually, my parents forbade me from seeing Marty ever again. And that lasted for about a year. Since neither of us were doing well, they finally reneged. Which is funny because a lot of my social problems stem from that friendship. Anyway, that incident severely affected my friendships, my relationships with my parents, and ramped up my paranoia. I can trace a lot of what's wrong with me back to that incident. And lastly, the really funny part about this whole thing, Marty, who got me into D&D and introduced me to Anne Rice books and dark music like Typo Negative, was actually a fucking Satanist.
Hell yeah.
If my mom had known, she probably would have driven a dagger through his heart. So, did you guys have anything even remotely like this? Again, your parents were cool?
Yeah, I mean, nothing that bad, no. I mean, I had a quote-unquote friend, coincidentally my D&D friend, role-playing game friend, the one that introduced me to that kind of stuff. He was also not a great person. So through elementary school and junior high, I went to, public schools, and I was bullied a bit. And then I only spent a couple months in public middle school, and my dad knew somebody from his work that ran a private school. So my brother and I ended up going there, and so I pretty much spent all my middle school years in this private school. And the guy that, I became friends with was really a piece of shit. And through his I don't know exactly if you'd call it encouragement or what, but I ended up becoming a little bit of a bully. It's also kind of that, cycle of,
abuse perpetrates abuse.
But he was just, he wasn't a Satanist, but he was more of an anarchist, and not a great person. And he was, looking back on it, I can also go, wow, this guy was really fucking racist.
Oh wow!
Like probably, probably also through the other way became a Nazi of some form.
Yeah. Also, like I said, Marty is living in Germany and is a Nazi.
Yeah.
Fuck.
So
like he dresses like the guy. Like you remember the main Nazi henchman dude from Raiders with the hat and the coat?
Mm-hmm.
All right, that, but bald with a Hitler mustache.
Like the nerdiest fucking Nazi outfit. Like not
in
like
Germany.
And not like one of the cool Nazi outfits, like the Hugo Boss thing.
Yeah, no. The kind you can buy at JCPenney.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was the closest I came, but it never
involved your
my
parents.
My parents, yeah,
right.
So, like, I provided, like, as a kid, if I could have found anyone to play D&D with, like, it wouldn't have been an issue. Like, because you know how permissive my parents were, based on my horror films and everything like that.
Fucking Chucky making motherfucker.
Yeah, I was a little creep. Like,
no, you're a weirdo. There's a difference.
No, I'd go with creep. Because it sounds cooler.
Okay, sure.
But the first role-playing game I ever got to play was actually DM'd by my mother.
Oh, cool!
And it was a Pokemon role-playing game. It was like a little 6-part adventure thing that they released. I remember getting it from KB Toys, and my brother and I would play it. She'd DM it and everything like that. And it was based on the Pokemon anime, so it had like the Ash story and everything like that. But yeah, like I never really had issues with the whole like Satanic Panic thing of it. Like I never talked to my grandma about it because I know she would have like flipped the hell out.
Sure.
But like yeah, I never had any issue like, and like by the time I was playing in like high school or in my early 20s, it was just like it was a thing, and it was like obviously for like the nerdy people. Because the other thing, like in high school, I played a lot of was Magic the Gathering.
Oh, we got into that too.
Yeah, but that being said, I do have a story from Holly that she.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she asked me to read on this one, so I'm gonna go ahead and.
And before you do that, I just want to say I asked for like. I searched around to try to get stories, but almost all the stories were either the same, which was my parents told me I couldn't play D&D and they threw my books out, or I was not born.
Yeah, so one thing that I'm finding is that like a lot of these archetypical stories about a player like falling to Satan or like killing themselves over their character. Like, if a person kills themselves over a character, there's probably more going on than that.
Oh, it's all just, depressed people tend to play D&D.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I'm depressed all the time, and I love D&D.
Yeah, same.
Oh, how about this? If we want to take a moment, I can get Holly on here, and she can read through this. And you get a chance to hear Holly on the show.
Okay, we can do that.
Okay, all right. So, let me go ahead and step away, and then she will hop on.
Hey guys.
Hey, Holly.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Right on. Okay, so you want me to just get into it?
Yeah, go for it.
Right on. Okay, so I grew up Mormon, and I wasn't allowed to do a lot of normal things that people did. Like, we didn't have sports in our home. I wasn't really allowed to wear pants. Like, I'd wear dresses and stuff like that all the time. Super hyper.
Yeah, my sister was Mormon, so yeah.
Oh, okay, so you get it then. Okay.
Yes.
So we're kind of like on the more conservative side of things. So part of that was I was not allowed to play Dungeons and Dragons. I don't really know where I first heard of it. It might have been a rerun of the 80s TV show. It might have been a friend who mentioned it and wanted to play, but I remember it was probably like the mid 90s I heard about it. So I was, I was younger than 10. So when I did bring it up to my dad, he big high fantasy enthusiast, Lord of the Rings and whatnot.
Right.
But he shot it down as though I had insulted him. And he was, he lectured me that, Dungeons and Dragons was absolutely not allowed in our home because it cast out the spirit and it invited Satan in. So he went on this big rant and this anecdote from his youth. When he was a teenager growing up in rural Missouri in the 70s, he had a tight group of friends who met for gaming sessions. One of the friends had put a lot of time and energy into their character, and when that character died, the friend went home and killed themselves in response. I figured this bad experience later on was probably, trauma-based and the reason it wasn't allowed. But after I learned a lot about the Satanic Panic, I realized this specific scenario was really common. And I still don't really know if it actually happened or if it was just my dad trying to exert, religious authority in the home. But I remember I was like 7 or 8 when he told me. And
wow.
I was like, this is not appropriate. But,
No, absolutely not.
Good. But yeah, so I didn't really play my first Dungeons and Dragons game until actually a couple weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was all fun.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
Yeah. And, Satan definitely entered my soul. So, yeah, we got that.
Oh, yeah. Hail Satan.
Hail Satan. All right, guys.
Well, thanks for the story, Holly.
Yeah, thank you, guys. I'm going to hand it back over to David.
Cool. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay, so what shit did she say about me?
She said you're a loser and a failure, and there's nothing you can do to change it.
Oh, okay, so nothing new. Got it.
Yep, pretty much. So, no, that is the exact kind of story you hear from people, though. And it doesn't surprise me. It's one of those correlation. Is it what is it?
Correlation equals causation.
Does not equal causation.
Oh,
yes.
Does not equal, yeah.
Yes, just because somebody went home and killed themselves doesn't mean it was because of the game.
Yeah, just because they played D&D and then went home and killed themselves does not mean the D&D caused the suicide.
It might just be that the game was boring.
Or just say...
Yeah, right. Critical fail on the entertainment value of that campaign. Now, the other thing is, like, it was really hard to find other examples of the story. It's kind of like almost like an urban legend.
It is. It really, really is.
Yeah, somebody knew somebody that killed themselves because of Dungeons and Dragons.
Everybody I know said they knew somebody in church who knew somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my whole thing with the whole religious angle is my parents were nuts about this, and neither of them went to church. They hated church.
It's super weird. Yeah, like it just it's hard to explain like how I'm sure there are people who can write like doctoral theses on these, right? Like,
yeah, I'm sure
like
how
these movements, how these kind of cultural movements happen, and how these kind of like informal campaigns against something occur and get adopted widely outside of the target group as well.
Yeah. It's a mass hysteria kind of thing.
Dogs and cats living together.
Mass hysteria. So that's a story of the period in history where the entire country went insane, fearing their children's soul would be devoured by Satan if they played a board game. And I understand how insane all this must sound to today's youth or to people that just plain didn't experience it, but it happened. And it was a pretty big freaking deal. It's a modern look at moral panics like the witch trials, and unfortunately, probably a look at our future with the rise of moral outrage online and the increasing insanity of the right wing. And while I do kind of miss the insular nature of the gaming community of the old days sometimes, I'd much rather live in the modern world where anyone is just free to game, especially given what would happen to society to make those times come back. And that's it. What do you guys think?
Like, I love the fact that, like, every Thursday I have like a new episode of Critical Role. Like even if I'm not playing that week, I could still kind of get my Dungeons and Dragons fix on. Like I recently, within the past year or so, had joined up with a longtime group of players, and it was such a gracious and welcoming thing. Like it's like a real camaraderie going on. Everybody's kind, everybody's patient. It's a great way to spend like 4 hours a week.
It is.
Like I think everybody needs that, like something like that, like escape. And for some people, it's Dungeons and Dragons or any other TTRPG, and like that's a good thing, and we need those options out there for people.
Yeah, Mike.
Yeah. I mean,
I was really expecting you to just go, "You're all a bunch of fucking nerds."
well, that.
Well,
but
we're all a bunch of fucking nerds.
That's me. You know, that would be just hypocritical of me to say that. So,
yeah, true.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad in some way it's over, at least for this aspect. But you know, moral panics or something we're just gonna have to live with because,
We're
like
humans.
you said, they've happened before. They'll happen again.
Yep. It sucks, but, you know, we made it through. We'll continue to make it through, especially the listeners of this show, because you're such open-minded, wonderful people.
Well, like D&D was an easy target.
Oh, terribly easy.
Well, they always go for it.
Especially at the time.
Look, no one's going to have a moral panic over, or no one's going to be able to create a moral panic over something that's not an easy target.
Man, you remember when everybody thought that Chutes and Ladders was going to end the world? That was a hell of a summer. No, so that's it. And guys, I want to thank both of you for coming along on this one. It was a lot of fun, and I hope you enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah.
And I hope everyone out there enjoyed it. I want to thank you all for listening. We had a lot of fun, and we're really glad to be back. We'll have a Weekend Weird coming up next week, of course, and I did find me a Phantoms and Monsters.
Yay!
Oh, don't act like you're going to enjoy it. So, again, thank everyone for listening. If you would like to learn more about the show, head to supernatpod.rocks. That is supernatpod.rocks. You will find a link to our Discord, our Patreon, our store, all of the episodes of this show, and the Distraction Hall. And you can get in touch with us using the contact form or team@supernaturalselectionpod.com. Again, that is at supernatpod.rocks. We're also on social media, but we don't do a lot of posting on there because social media is currently a blighted hellscape run by oligarchs. So,
Yeah. Well, you know what wouldn't be a blighted hellscape?
What is that?
Like, what if we did like a one-shot involving cryptids?
Like a D&D?
Like a D&D or some sort of system where like either we're the cryptids or we're hunting for them.
Oh, I could run a Call of Cthulhu. I had these motherfuckers meet what was supposed to be Bigfoot, and it turned out to be a Scooby-Doo caper.
Oh man, like
until the real Bigfoot showed up.
Like if you're in the Discord, if you want to hit us up on social media, you want to send us an email, let us know if you're interested in us doing something like that.
Yeah, and also join the Discord. There's a permanent link on the website, and we got a great little community going. And we would love to have more of you on there. So
the shit posting is particularly excellent. That reverse image of the United States of America really
pissed me off so fucking bad. That was in the whole cringe. God damn it, I hate that. Mike, did you see that?
No.
Oh, it's the United States reversed, and it just makes you feel like everything's wrong with the world. But also, we've got our shitpost forum, which is shitpostmodernism. Real proud of that name. So anyway, thanks again for listening, everybody. We will see you next week. So until then, stay safe and stay frosty. Goodbye.
I think the states aren't also like drawn correctly. They're what's that called? Uncanny Valley states.
Uncanny Valley states.
Yeah, Texas does not look like that.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Now that we've slain this episode, let's go ahead and roll for loot.
Yep. Nope. I'm gonna root the loom.
Hey, I need that. I need that. Give me that. No, give me that sword of boning.
Sword of boning.
+1.
Jesus Christ.
And I'll take the packet of horny goat weed.
There you go.
Oh Lord.
I got a centaur to meet.
Oh fuck, Mike. He's after your woman.
He needs a milk stool or two.